one of the things Rudy asked me was, do you remember what it was?
Yeah, when Elsie was telling her story, she said about how when Sidney Banks left his job as a welder, like a secure job with a pension, to do this, and with the possibility of not earning a living, he said something along the lines of, you know, if you're in service, you get taken care of.
Yeah.
Or similarly, you said something similar to that. So I just asked if you definitely said that. So
yes. And I could see that meant a lot to Rudy, you know, that it was a really sincere question. And it brought up a lot for me, because at the time, you know, as I mentioned in my opening remarks on whenever it was, Ken and I were really concerned about what were they going to do, how were they going to live. And yet we saw the proof of that. And sometimes it wasn't easy. You know, I'm not going to say like, you know, money just came rolling in from out of the blue and all that. There were times where things were tight for them. But it was okay because he was so in service and he knew this was the direction his life was meant to take. You know, he trusted the unfolding. So there was just no question. He just trusted it. And then we saw how that turned around, and indeed they were taken care of. Although at one point they did end up selling their home to support their work. But even that, it was like, well, this is what we want to do in order to continue to serve the world. And they got it back, because later on down the road they were able to buy another even more beautiful home, and so on. So for me, that has been kind of the motivation behind my work, is that when I first started, when I was first invited to actually do some work for the company that Sid had worked for, and they were so fascinated by the change in him that the vice president of operations called him and asked him to come to home office. And Sid thought that was really something, you know, that he'd worked as a welder in a pulp mill, and now the VP of operations is asking him to come in and talk with their team for team development, and Sid invited me to go with them. So, you know, I learned from that how to just connect with people, you know, that Sid was doing this kind of by the seat of his pants. Like nobody taught him. He was self-taught. Like everything that came out of him was just driven by insight in the moment. And so when the office was really dark and not inviting to sit and have a great conversation, he suggested we go to the park and converse in the park and feed the squirrels and things like that. And that's what we did, and we had incredible conversation, so that when the executives came back to the office, it was like they were almost skipping back into their workplace, because they said they felt like they played hooky, not hockey. They felt like they played hooky from school. And so, you know, they went back to work freshly inspired and that kind of thing. So work started to happen for Sid, where people were reaching out and bringing him in. And then there was a point also for me that I was so glad that people would accept me, because in many ways I still thought of myself as a homemaker. And so if people said, will you come and do some more team development for our company, it was like, well, yeah, whatever, you know, whatever. And I didn't care whether they paid me or not. I was just so glad to be of service because of what it did for my life and my family's life. And I could see the people that were coming to the island and studying with Sid. I could see the psychologists that were coming. So to me, like, income was secondary. What was primary is that this precious gift that Sid had uncovered was being accepted slowly by the world, by society. And I had a role in that. And so I was just so grateful. And then it started to come. Like when I wasn't concerned about it, money started to come in. And all the way along, it's been like that. When I had the first opportunity to go to Switzerland and do some work, there was nobody there to support it except, one person. And he said, I might be able to bring in 6 people, so I don't know that we can pay you. We can put you up, a friend will put you up and we can pay for your airfare. It was like, great, I'm there, because who wouldn't want to go to Switzerland? It was just like the opportunity to serve was what moved me. And then, oh yeah, right, gosh. And guess what? Like, more people showed up at that event than anybody expected. So I went home with a little chunk of change. So it was like, wow, I just loved being in service. And oh right, okay, here's some income as well.